Good morning, everybody. As you know, we're going to be opening up the elections for the new SACIA board later on today, and I thought this would be a good opportunity just to introduce some of the board nominees to our membership. We don't have a lot of people that have joined us for the live webinar, but we are recording it and we're going to be posting it online later on. It's going to be available all week, and the people that are going to be eligible to vote will be able to view the interview or the webinar and learn more about the individual candidates. Over the course of the last few days, we've been posting various notes about who's eligible to participate, and so all of that information is available. I'm also just looking for some of the nominees have actually joined as delegates rather than participants, and so I'm just trying to activate them. Aldred, if you want to, both Aldred and Uwe have joined as attendees rather than panelists. So if you can use the panelists to join, that would work more effectively. Can you just confirm? Can everybody see the webinar, the screen?
Yep.
So,
yeah,
so
we can.
So in the build up to the webinar, I suggested to people that they might want to send in a couple of questions, and one of them that came up, before I do that, here are the nominees that have been accepted to participate in the ballot. Getting back to the questions, so some of the questions that have been sent in: how are the nominations received? Who's eligible to vote in the elections? How is the vote run? And when will the results be announced? So I'm just going to kind of open that up as some homework. How are the nominations received? In essence, any member can accept a nomination to serve on the board. The nominations tend to be channeled through our various councils. So we have 8 different councils active within SACIA, and most of the people that are nominated are active within our various councils. Who is eligible to vote in the election? So very obviously, SACIA is a member-driven organisation, and so it's our paying members that are eligible to vote. How is the vote run? We use a system called Simply Voting, which is an online voting system. Works very well and provides some real value benefits over and above the kind of the regular kind of meeting that would normally be held in a conference facility. Why? Number one, because we're able to hold the vote open all week, and so if you can't vote today, you can vote Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, anytime before Friday. Number two, it allows people all over the country to participate in the vote. Number three, it's done through an independent platform, so there's no opportunity for anybody to interfere in the results. And number four, the system includes an online system that validates the accuracy of the vote, and so not only is it seen to be transparent, but it's completely accurate as well. I think one of the key aspects here is that the role of the board is primarily strategic, and so one of the questions that came in, and I'm going to throw this open either to Aldred and Derek. Yes, Derek is here under attendees. So, Derek, you've joined using the incorrect link. I'm going to activate your microphone.
Hi everyone.
Okay.
Hi.
So the role of the board is primarily strategic, and yet Aldred and Derek have spoken in their video about increasing membership, which is primarily an operational role, whilst Sharif has spoken specifically about assuming an operational role. If the role of the board is primarily strategic, how do you reconcile the role of the board with the role of the executive? So does somebody want to pick up on that question? Sharif, Derek, or Aldred?
I'll go second, thanks.
Okay. Derek,
No, I'll go second.
go second. Aldred?
Yeah.
Sharif?
Morning, everybody.
Yep.
Yeah, so you asked the question, the role of the board is primarily strategic, and yet you wanted me to speak about something operational?
So no, the question was if the role of the board is primarily strategic, and in your video that we released last week, you spoke about assuming an operational role, and the question I think is how do you reconcile that balance between strategy and operations?
Well, I think it is. I think the right choice of word there is strategic. As a board, collectively, we need to take into consideration the thoughts and the challenges of all the special interest groups laid out on the table, plan for it accordingly with the different chairs, and then put it into an operational role, collectively speaking, not just to the special interest groups, but also to how it impacts members going down, government, as well as the workplaces. And especially with the COVID-19 time that we live in, all of these three parameters are very strategic in making sure SACIA is seen as not just an association, a professional body, but as an operational and for the members operational body. And I think it's absolutely critical that we make sure that the incoming board is hands-on on every aspect of that. And this is why I spoke specifically about the board being operational, and I would definitely like to take a big leap and a jump in that regard, making sure that we are operational in that regard.
And Derek, perhaps if you want to just pick up on that, I've unmuted the microphone.
Okay, so previously I've sat on a few boards ranging from Deloitte and BDO, Checkmark and RSM. I'm sitting on technology boards across Africa, and I do believe that strategy is the way forward, and I do believe that working outside our borders are going to be the way forward, bringing new members into the team.
Yep, very nice. I should just point out there's a chat button in the control bar. If anybody has any questions, just send them in and we'll put them to the panel. Aldred, are you still here? Yes, I'm going to unmute your microphone as well. So Aldred, do you want to just pick up on that balance between operational and strategic?
Yeah, so I guess increasing membership could be considered both a strategic and a operational activity, but if it's on the board scorecard for the executive director to drive, because increase in membership will translate into increase in the financial health of the organization. So yeah, obviously the board won't get involved in the operational day-to-day issues of the organization, but you need to know what's going on the ground in order to guide and to advise on the executive director on ways in which to strategically navigate the scene in in his duties. Yeah, I think that's all from my side.
Okay. Eva, you've also joined the meeting using the attendees link rather than the delegates link. I've just activated your microphone. Can you give me some insight from an SASC perspective? You've always had a board that is operational as well as strategic. So is that something that you can jump in on?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, basically, look, I mean, we've had this board, we've had the SASC board has been going for many, many years. But our main problem has always been funding. You know, in other words, everybody comes up with really good ideas and initiatives to try and get new members or to try and get industry participation or for us to speak as one voice. And I think from a strategic point of view, I think it's quite important that we as an industry or as a sector get together and have more input in what government is trying to do, and be one voice when we speak, because we are very fragmented as an organization within our sector, and it's very difficult to get anybody to believe what we're saying, because we have organizations that have got 10 members, others have got 1,500 members, and that's always been the problem in the past, and that's why we really are not really getting anywhere. And I think, going forward, I think it's very important that we unite more as a sector and pressure and make things happen, and unfortunately it does take a lot of participation by people, because most of us work in an environment where we're not paid for our time. We do it because we care and are passionate about the industry.
Okay, so somebody else that sent in a question.
Can I just add something to that quickly, Kevin?
Yes, of course. So, Wynand?
I think we as SACIA is actually in quite a unique position in that we are in the sector, but actually we cover a few, I guess, industry sectors. And so the board is an umbrella board over all these special interest groups. And the special interest groups have their own focus areas. So the operational and strategic involvement at board level and at special interest group level actually need to knit together, and I believe we have an advantage with SACIA because we have these special interest groups. So operational elements within each special interest group can be brought to the board, and in fact what you'll find is that typically the chair of the special interest group is actually sitting on the board, and so therefore you can almost sometimes shift operational and strategic elements between the board and the special interest group leadership, and in that way do a better job of sometimes having focus. So Ugo was saying that for focus that that people have lots of ideas, and sometimes it's the energy that's missing. Sometimes the energy from a special interest group, which is very relevant to, for example, Pro AV, broadcast or whatever, can actually push up into the board, and in that way create extra energy and focus and attention from the members, and of course bringing members into play with that focus within each special interest group, which I think is a massive advantage within SACIA.
Yes. Sorry, is somebody else making that point? Sue, I think you're trying to say something.
No, I wasn't, but I just wanted to emphasize on what Wynand said as the newbie in this in the SACIA umbrella, and specifically, representing the exhibition and events and festivals market, if you like. I think that Kevin, you're all over Facebook and everywhere. So I think from getting the word out has been fantastic. And if one thing that awful COVID has done for us is made our profile, SACIA's profile, much bigger and more, people now, your membership is going up and up and up, which is fantastic. As I've said before, we all must not work in silos. We must work together and broaden the industry. And now the more voices we have, I think the louder we'll be heard.
Okay, so we've got a couple of new people that have appeared on the panel, so you should be able to hear them. Here's another question that got sent in to me, and kind of an important one. South Africa's population is near as damn it 80% Black African, 9.2% white, 8.8% coloured, and 2.6% Indian. There's not a single Black nominee standing in this election. So what are we doing as an association to promote transformation and create opportunities for people of colour? I think we've been speaking about transformation and the need to embrace a greater commitment to transformation for a number of years. So does somebody want to pick up on the challenges of driving transformation within SACIA? Sharif, yep. You've muted. Fine.
Yeah, I'd like to obviously echo Sue's and Vaynant's sentiments, and they're absolutely right. As bad as this novel coronavirus is, it has for SACIA played a pivotal role in the sense of awareness, both for SACIA and the special interest groups, especially the TPSA. And I think it is only, I think it's imperative that we continue to do this public relations venture to make it us far more strategic by being more operational with government and making us aware, making people aware of us, and making sure they understand what we do as a professional body and association will assist in our transformation. Prior to the coronavirus, we were struggling to get a far more diverse people onto our panels, into our special interest groups, and the coronavirus COVID-19 has now afforded us a platform to encourage people to join and hold hands with us as what we do as a professional body. And I think that will play a pivotal role. Operationally, to be far more market driven, PR driven, will also assist us in making us bigger on our membership, and obviously encouraging financial input, something that we do not enjoy as of yet from government anyway, because we're self-reliant on our members. And in order for SACIA to survive, we need a lot more members and a lot more people being far more active on all platforms, and not just the select few that are put together.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the biggest challenges is that we are essentially a board, and our various councils all operate on a volunteer basis. And so to a large extent, you know, we are governed by electing those individuals who stand up and say that they are willing to participate. So we've said for a long time that we need to drive a greater commitment to transformation. And of course, Stephen Matau, the current board chair, is Black African. And all of our councils include Black Africans as members, but it's a big challenge for us as an association. And certainly, if I have one thing that we could add, it would be to say let's open ourselves up and commit ourselves to driving that transformation agenda. So the next question that came in, the average age of the nominees is over 50. I'm just looking at the camera. Yes, I'm safe to say that. The average age of the nominees is over 50, and there's only one female nominee. Why no more women, and why no younger people? Sue, perhaps you can pick up on behalf of the women. Why do you not have...
Girl power rules, guys. Come on. I think going back slightly to the Black African question, we at SEPA, which was the council, is the Council for Event Professionals, we had 5 Black Africans on our board, which is now city, and there are 5.
Sue, you've broken up and disappeared. We can't hear you.
You're doing a good mime there.
Okay. Sue seems to have disappeared. So while she's talking to herself, why no younger people? I suspect Mpho might have sent this question in.
Talking about mentorships to bring more women into the picture, into females into the picture. So I think it will grow, and you know there are some fantastic. The exhibition industry is very female focused. So I think once we get into enlarging the SACIA umbrella, you'll find more women stepping up.
So Sue, your line, and we missed a lot of that. But yes, who's that? Is that Roman? Tinus, yeah, sorry, Tinus, jump in.
No, I just want to add my little bit in there. If we look at representation, whether that be race, gender, The big problem that we have is people being willing to step forward to take up the baton.
Yep.
The elections are completely open to members. So somebody used the words at one point, the select few. We are not a select bunch. The nominations are open to members. So please, people, on the board, on the councils, everywhere, become active, start to join. This is how we're going to make transformation happen. SACIA is committed to that. If you come look at our councils in particular, you will see the diversity there. Well, it's starting. It's not as diverse as we ourselves would like to see that. The demographic within our own industry reflects our country's demographics. So we need people to get involved, step up to the plate, pick up the baton. Unfortunately, something like a professional body, who, especially SACIA, that relies
No, it's you.
especially SACIA that relies on volunteers to get the work done. Our members cannot sit back and expect things to happen. You've got to step up and make it happen. So if you are passionate about the questions that you are posting, please get involved. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Very good point.
Can I add something there?
Yep.
So if you look at this old grey-haired white male that you're seeing in front of you here, I honestly feel that it's almost like there's, if you look at the profile of the nominees, old white guys, one lady, and why is there no younger people? Why is there no more women? Why is there no more black people? This nomination process was not done by any exclusion of anybody, and in fact, we are begging the younger black people to come forward and play a role in this association. We're waiting for that, and I encourage you, so that I can go and sit on the beach, that you guys should take over, and please do.
Yeah.
Yeah, may I add something there as well? I think something we all struggle with is apathy. And we've certainly talked about it at the SASC. And across the board, it's, you know, at forums like this, it's easy for people to make comments. But the fact is that year round, there's a general apathy in the industry. It's very difficult to get people, A, to join a society, B, to pay fees, and C, to be engaged in the operations thereof. So I guess one of the matters that needs to be discussed going forward is to how more effectively get people involved and get them to actually contribute on a meaningful basis going forward, because that simply doesn't happen. It's a case of sit back and let others do the work, and quite honestly, that needs to be addressed.
Okay.
May I just add, look, this, how do I put this, phenomenon, it goes across all industries, all NGO groups, even in churches. There's always the regular 20% that participate in activities regularly. So for me, we've started the Young Professionals Forum. It needs to grow. And Mpo is doing a great job there. We also need to increase our exposure to for the Young Professionals Forum to increase its exposure to potential members as well as existing young members, so that they can understand what the benefit is to being a member of this association. and what it is that they can also contribute to the association. So we as the board need to create that snowball effect in order for there to be more change in terms of younger leadership, as well as more women and more diversity in terms of our leadership. Okay.
One of the things that we've done, not only as Aldred was saying, established the Young Professionals Forum, but also working actively with students at various universities, where we've set up the SACIA Student Council. And I know Tinis was one of the people that was kind of an aggressive driver of that initiative. Tinis, maybe you just want to talk a little bit about our engagement with students.
Yes, indeed. So on that note, looking back at the questions posed so far, I firmly believe that our student initiative is one of the keys to addressing most of those issues. Unfortunately, that is going to be a long-term process. In other words, we've got to get those people through the student phase into the young professionals phase, and only then will they become active members in the sense of serving on councils in a meaningful manner. They already have the opportunity to serving within the student council, where they will gain valuable experience in taking part in the leadership roles that will be available to them going forward. On the student side, we've gone quite a length in setting up chapters even at different universities, and we want to expand that. We obviously started off starting small, sort of seeing how this thing goes, and it's been met with great success, I dare to say. And I think once this starts to get a little bit of a life of its own, especially on campus, we can start to expand into more and more areas. And even there, we're open to hear from anybody who knows of colleges, universities that may have an interest in starting something along these lines with SACIA, so we can get that ball rolling. That is the future, long-term speaking, and long and medium term, because it's going to take about 3 to 5 years for somebody who's just started their studies, if you will, to work through the process. Hopefully we'll see a few that's already in that mill come out the other end a little sooner. Hold thumbs.
Yep. One of the things that I perhaps somebody wants to pick up on, you know, when we first launched SACIA, it was primarily the professional AV community. And over the last few years, we've established a number of chapters. And so if I look at our footprint in the events sector right now, we've got the TPSA, we've got SEPA as the Council of Event Professionals, and we have the Event Safety Council. And our content creation sector is expanding similarly. The SASC, perhaps our best known affiliate, but also working closely with the Guild of Actors. The question here is for either Uwe or Paul. From a strategic perspective, how do you see the SACIA umbrella expanding within the framework of that content creation sector? Either of you.
Uwe, I think you take this one.
Okay. Look, you know, I've always advocated, I remember this quite a while ago having said that, because I really believe that we need to have an umbrella body that looks after the interests that are not production related. In other words, you know, they don't have and that's why SACIA, I think, is the ideal vehicle, and I've always fought for that, because they do not have a vested interest in the production sector. In other words, they are not producers that are competitors to anybody else. They have got relationships with government, with Department of Labor, with the CETAs, to generate funding and create great initiatives in their training and designations, which I think we all, you know, are trying to strive desperately to get recognition within the sector for the abilities of our freelancers primarily, because we are a freelance industry, you know, but they are not recognized, do not have benefits, and it's a very difficult situation. So you need an umbrella body that takes care of those sort of things and lets the producers and the production companies and the technicians do what they do best, is being creative, because we are a creative sector. You know, we create wind, we create emotion. It's very difficult to convince a bank to take your video and say this is worth 100,000 rand. It's not a tangible effort, you know. For us, it's always something that we really struggle with, is generating funding for training, number one. I mean, we used to be part of the consultative committee where we received money from the Department of Arts and Culture when overseas production companies came in and used our technicians and paid for that. That was then taken away, you know. So training has become very difficult, and you know, SACIA has been in the foreground of creating opportunities for new entrants into the sector through the various associate practitioner and obviously the SASC designation in our sector, which has given a lot more people credibility and uplifted our profile, because all of a sudden we are an entity to be reckoned with because we have official credit.
Yes. Derek, I'd like you to expand on that from a telco's perspective, but I wondered if Sharif might want to expand upon it from the perspective of the TPSA.
Okay, I'll go second.
Yeah, look, I think it's absolutely imperative that the special interest groups like the TPSA concentrate on the work that they need to do and allow SACIA to handle the production side of the administrative side of it. It just makes sense that the professional body umbrella looks after, because all our special interest groups cross lines somewhere along the line. Whether it be with Pro AV and TPSA, whether it be Broadcast Council and Pro AV, they all join somewhere in the bigger picture. And I think SACIA is the glue that keeps it all together. And it's imperative that SACIA promotes and pushes exactly what it's doing, which is the professional standards, education thereof, and keeping us professional and keeping us in line. So I think having SACIA as an umbrella over the special interest group is a no-brainer. It is something that is a must.
Okay,
guys, I see SACIA definitely as the forefront of crossroads of IT and AV. You know, you have your audiovisual and you have your IP and you have your networks, and everything's running on an IP backbone at the moment. I come from a strong networking infrastructure, and I definitely see the integration aspects of AV working towards IT. And SACIA is the only body that is really working towards the umbrella standards of both. So it's a strategic position to be in, to bring to IT aspects, to have conversations with AV.
okay. I was hoping that we would have a larger live audience who would send in some questions. I don't have any coming in, so if any of the attendees want to pose questions, please send them in using the chat function. And so I'm going to keep an eye on the chat function, but I think it's perhaps a good time to wrap up. So I'm going to ask each of the panelists just to share a quick insight, and I'm going to do it in alphabetical order. So Aldred, if you could go first. Derek, as you've done a couple of times now, you can go second.
Sure.
So Aldred, yes, a couple of words just to wrap from your side.
Yeah, so we are very aware of the issues in our industry. I think for me, the commitment to continue to grow young professionals in and that pipeline is important. To assist to get provide a coaching function within SACIA as well, for some of our members that we want to pivot from the the technical career into a management career, as well as growing membership. I think it's quite important that we focus on growing our membership, and with all of that, then also increase our marketing efforts so that we can provide more exposure to our existing members as well as potentially new members. Thank you.
Derek, if you want to jump in.
Sure. So I really think that it's key that brand awareness is driven, not only from a South African perspective, but growing across Africa. And to answer one of the questions, I'm way under 50, so I can bring in some new blood and some experience. I've got great networks as well, and CEO of boards, and so I've got the management and leadership experience.
Very good. Yes. I would encourage anybody else under 50 to make the point.
Yeah, I'm also under 50, so.
Okay. So Paul, you're next.
Yeah, I think I agree with what Eldred and the others have said. I think the future lays in really moving towards involving a lot more people in mentorship and training programs in the various societies, so we can upskill those people and get them to levels that are recognized not only by government, but of the people that will be feeding them work in future, whether they are in a situation where they work for someone or whether they're putting out feeders like everyone else for work, that the people that use them recognize the fact that they are at certain levels, and they can feel safe about utilizing those people, knowing that they've been assessed by their peers, and that they conform to the standards, the high standards that are set within this industry.
Very good. Roman?
Yes. Yeah, sorry that I have been so quiet, but I have also problems with my webcam. I'm also under 50. I have to make this point directly on the start. and I have to say, yes, growing the membership, especially in the student area and on the associate side, is very important for us to grow the professional body and to lead the people basically into professional development, which is basically the core of the body, where we want to create standards. We want to make sure that the industry performs towards a certain standard and that clients and customers have the ability to check whether the standard is actually adhered to. Now the second point is for me very important, expanding the professional body into the other industries like telco and also from the advertising publishing perspective, because we see worldwide a converging industry through the whole IT-driven and online-driven IP-based distribution of content, production of content. Everything is going IT and media, and we really have to take a look how we onboard the telecommunication sector as and Aldred actually can say that very well, because he's actually working in an environment where a telco went to video, and we see a big convergence, like for example with AT&T had acquired DirecTV, had then acquired Warner and HBO. And this is a convergence we see worldwide, which we need to lead the industry to, and also have to adapt to the industry and make sure that we provide a way forward on that one. And that actually leads to the third point. Sorry, I have one more point.
Yes.
Because I've been very quiet, so now you have to bear with me, sorry. And the third point is really expanding on training. It's the one point, but actually even more important, to become a knowledge hub for the industry, meaning creating white papers, creating industry standards where everybody can ask if there is unclarity around a certain topic, if there's unclarity about where does the industry go, what should we do, how should we position our business in the future, what are the threats we have specifically in South Africa with global players coming in. All of these very, very vital questions
can be answered by the professional body, or at least can be assisted by the professional body. And I think this is where we can play a really, really big role in providing the industry really with some guidance and help that we are successful in the future as well. Thank you. Sorry that it took so long, but I wanted to make these points.
Not a problem. Sharif,
So
your next.
Yeah, I think all the business and administrative dynamics are being spoken about here, and it's very important for SACIA. But for me, there's a word that I'm absolutely in love with, and it's an African word called Ubuntu. And unless we need to strive to create the unity across all special interest groups and with all our members. And once we can do that, we can then create a platform that we can engage with on a government level. Because unfortunately, at the moment, SACIA is not being engaged, and it's not even being recognized by government on various levels. Yes, COVID-19 has allowed us to be out there a little bit more via our marketing and PR strategies, but it's not enough. And with everything that we're trying to do, with our professional standards, with trying to get membership from telcos and et cetera, it's all going to fall to waste unless we can transform ourselves collectively and get everybody unified and speak with one voice, so that SACIA, which they are already, can be the voice for the communications industry. My name is Sharif Baker, and I thank you.
Very nice.
So,
Sue?
Kevin, sorry.
Yep,
Well,
who's
I echo actually Roman's thought on the knowledge hub, which is I think a wonderful way to go forward as well. SEPA, as I've said, we're the event supplier industry, the exhibition industry, festivals. So we look forward to expanding through the industry membership to SACIA. That's would be our, I think, our first goal. And then promoting the certifications that we've applied to SACWA, and professionalizing the industry. And the youngsters and are all very keen on professionalizing themselves, certifying themselves. So I think, we've got a hard road ahead, but it's very exciting times. And yeah, we're all in this together.
Yes, I've heard Sharif say that many times. Tennis, you're next.
All right, first up, also under 50. I might not look the part, but I have a little way to go before I'm there. Yes, and I'd like to just say I think everything has been touched on for the most part, but I'd like to echo especially the last sentiment from Sue's side. There's a lot of hope for us in our younger generation. I think up until now, especially within our freelance ranks, we haven't been treating ourselves as professionals. And as a result, we've not been seen as professionals. We might be seen as craftsmen or people that are good at what we do in certain areas. But that status that comes with recognition, especially when we look at our designations, makes a huge difference. And I want to empower our members with a little bit of a practical example. I had a conversation late last week with one of my proteges that's got a management post in Australia today, who tells me that he's had a couple of run-ins where he's appointed people based on credentials and references. And once they take on the job, he's had to find out that they aren't really up to scratch. So we made this point a little earlier from a professional body perspective. When you carry a designation, it's been peer reviewed. And if there's any comebacks on that, we've got disciplinary procedures in place. So that will give people assurances that if they appoint somebody with a professional designation, they are dealing with a professional. They are dealing with somebody that can do the job. The younger generation is far more into getting that in place than those of us that are established in the industry and already have relationships. I think we largely rely on those relationships to get the work done rather than the point of providing proof of your professionalism. And my last point in this is SACIA's biggest value is going to come once we have what is called critical mass. So we need as much of the industry to join us to have a loud voice with government, within the sector, within other players within the sector, such as broadcasters, freelancers, production companies, absolutely everybody. But that's only going to have true value once we have the numbers to start to sway opinion.
Very nice. Eva?
I agree with a lot that Roman was talking about, the innovation hub, the information dissemination. And I think it's quite important to realize that a lot of people in our sector are desperate for work. In other words, they want to know, what does my association to this organization mean to me? What am I going to get out of it? What's in it for me? And I think this is a big question that we've always been asked. What, you know, I want to pay my membership fees, but what's in it for me? And I think now with the SACIA infrastructure, the umbrella, and also the new innovative ideas that Kevin has come up with, which were obviously COVID induced, that we run a lot more webinars, and those webinars must be dissemination of information, because we find that people are hungry for information that they can perhaps use in their job, in their proposals, or whatever that they are wanting to use to create job opportunities. And I think, you know, that will give SACIA a lot of credibility by running these sort of information hubs as such. In other words, where we disseminate. I mean, Kevin and I have spoken about quite a lot of ideas where, specifically for the SASC, where we give information from experts that is given to newbies, to people that are hungry for new information. And I think that is a priority to me, for me specifically, is to be a part of that, even though I am a little bit over 50. But I think I have a lot of experience in the sector and give a very broad knowledge and understanding, which I think, you know, if I don't share this with somebody, it will be lost one day, and which would be a great pity, because I think it gives a backbone to what we are trying to do, so that people can stand on our shoulders and move forward and create an industry that we can all be proud of.
Very nice. And Wynand, you get the opportunity to finish off.
So just as a starting point, I have a few days left of being able to say I'm in my 50s. So hopefully still relevant. But, you know, I want to hook on to something that Tinus was talking about, and that is the membership. I don't believe that there's any individual or any individual company that can just say we're good in COVID-19 situation, in the current situation, and that we're fine and we have no need for association with a bigger group that has some voice. And if there's going to be any time to take advantage of your membership at SACIA or to become a member of SACIA, now's the time, because it's that voice that comes from many people talking with a common goal, and even having a source to information, a source to procedures, best practices, how to deal with COVID-19, how to take advantage of opportunities. All of this will come from you being a member of a larger association like SACIA, and by the way, with elements within each special group, be with a lot of focus for your industry, and then of course the umbrella, which is SACIA and its connections into government and everything. This is the place to be, and I almost would like to say it's a bit of a safe haven for a lot of people to be able to talk to an association like SACIA.
Yes, very, very nice. Okay, look, I'm going to wrap it up. We're allowed for that 10 minutes to get some additional questions, but there are none that are coming in. Just to explain, so the voting will open later on today, probably around 12-ish. All of the delegates that are eligible to vote will receive login details, and the vote will be open until 4 o'clock on Friday afternoon, and the results of the election will be announced at 4 o'clock on Friday afternoon. So for those that are eligible, please make sure that you cast your vote. And for those whose membership has lapsed, please get your membership renewed as quickly as possible so that you too can get login details to participate in this election. Thank you very much, and I look forward to seeing you all online.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Kevin.
Kevin.